Whipping out the voiceover microphone for you today because I felt like it. I read some books this year, but at the start of December, I wanted to know what your favorite books of the year were. So I posted on my story and admittedly misled some of you because the wording was really bad and I think some of you thought I meant like books that were published this year. I'm sorry about that. I take full responsibility. I just meant books that you have read this year that you liked. And so I picked 3 books that you guys told me were your favorites this year. Kat said that Beartown by Frederick Backman was her favorite, and I'd actually been sitting on a 10-week waiting list at my library for this, which became available the day I started filming this. So that just felt like perfect timing. And so we started there. I'm up to chapter 10. This is a lot pacier than I expected it to be. It's really good. You kind of just jump between different perspectives in this town seamlessly, like from paragraph to paragraph, and it's really enjoyable. I feel like I'm learning so much about all the characters really quickly. So we've got this tiny town called Beartown in quite a wild area, it seems. Like, it gets extremely cold and there's woods and lots of wild animals and just like, yeah, I'm guessing very northern. It's hockey obsessed. They once had a team that was like the second best in the nation. They live and breathe hockey in this town, it seems. I'm only at chapter 10, but I already like believe the characters. It's as if I've got this like bird's eye view over the town and we keep just like dipping in and out, checking in on different like people of the town in the lead up to this big hockey game, and it's really easy to read and fun so far. And I keep forgetting that like the first chapter of the book is like opening saying that like someone's been murdered or like someone shot someone in the forest or something. I'm not even into like the main crux of the story and I'm just like enjoying reading it.
I read 36% of Beartown yesterday. It's so easy to read. It's going by so quickly, and I'm actually very engrossed in what the story is. And we haven't even gotten up to like a murder or anything. Oh, hello, Bean. Hello. Come to join a party. Goodness gracious. It's okay. Camera is your friend. I would happily read this if it was just contemporary fiction. Very much enjoying it so far. 42% through. It's just gotten very, very dark. But the night of the hockey game, the big game after the hockey game, it just took a turn. And I suddenly see kind of where this book is going. Maybe. I don't know. If you've read this, you know what I've just kind of read. For what it's worth, I think that was very well written. I think that this traumatic event that's occurred is a tricky one to articulate, and I don't think that every author is going to get it right for every person, but I thought that was pretty good. That was haunting and dark, and like the constant foreshadowing, or like past what is it called when you say like she went to the park but she didn't see the red car, she only saw the trees? Like, what do you call it when you're like, I don't know what that is? What kind of literary vehicle is that? I'm going to keep reading this. I'm intrigued. Finished Beartown. That's not how you frame a shot, Lucy. There's a light next to you. Try again. That book was very good. Intelligent writer. I respect his craft immensely. I will be reading more of Frederick Backman. Is that the name of the author? Sorry, I'm very tired, as you can see. We did manage to smash it out. It's like 10... I finished it about 30 minutes ago. I think it's like 10:30 now. Oh, 10:57. Sorry, I lied. I finished it and then did my book journaling for it to try and get my thoughts arranged. That has been very helpful actually for me, especially for a book like that where the content is very emotional. And I find that sometimes I'll finish a book and like, just because it's tackling a pretty tricky theme, or, you know, characters said stuff that made me really angry, my brain used to kind of turn that into like, oh, that's a 5-star book. And I'm like, no, like, it's a great book, but I am settling on a 4 for that one, or at least I am for now. Some seriously fantastic commentary on Boys Club and what that means for the community around it. And my god, like, the writer was like, he had so many different elements that we used throughout the story that we just kept coming back to, and he never forced anything down your throat. I love that about a writer. When they're tackling a particularly difficult theme, it can be really easy to let your own prejudice and bias as a writer kind of like guide the audience down a certain path, but I didn't feel like he was necessarily doing that. He just kind of shaped the story. And one of the elements that he used, like what I'm talking about, is I think it was the creed of the club, their words. They had a banner that said like community, loyalty, and then culture. Like, it had 3 words kind of thing. You know, every now and then we would come back to those 3 words where the first time you read them, it just felt like setting the scene. It just felt like a plot device to help you understand who this town is, and, you know, they take their hockey team very seriously, and these words are very important, etc., etc. But then you'd come back to it every now and then throughout this story, and those words would have almost a different meaning every time, and you kind of have to look at them and be like so yeah, very intelligent writer in that sense. I really enjoyed his writing. I will absolutely be going back for that one. So Cat Loves Coffee on Instagram, thank you, gorgeous Goyle. I agree, that book was sensational. I'm so tired, I'm sure you can tell. I will see you when we start our next book.
Next up, Em said one of her favourites was Lightlark.
So I have a little bit of mixed feelings about this book even before I go into it. The first side is that I see a lot of stuff on the internet where there's like a lot of YouTube videos where people are saying, is Lightlark as bad as people say it is? And then the entire video is basically just being like, yes, it's awful. On the other side, I have a friend who has been vehemently recommending this book to me for months now. Now, this person works a 9 to 5. They don't have a bunch of time on their hands to read. And so this recommendation goes as far as her telling me that she literally took a day off work so she could finish one of the books. If that isn't a solid recommendation, then like, I've got to give it a go. Come on. Now, this was Em's Reads Here's. Em's Reads Here. Thank you for supporting me through that. This was her favorite fantasy that she read this year. So I'm gonna see if I too love this book as much as you and my friend Anna do. Okay, I get the Australian allegations to do with our accent. The only one I despise is the no one. Like, someone was bullying me on the Kobo video for saying Corbar. I'm like, bitch, go away. I get that Australians say some weird shit. Like, I understand our accents sounds very different, but also so do yours. And we don't walk around going, ha ha ha, aluminum, ha ha ha, aluminum. I obviously had every intention of letting you know like what the plot of the book was before I got too far into it, but I'm 49% through. So what are you gonna do? This is the situation we're in, and I would appreciate your understanding at this time. So, Lightlark, how do I explain this? Basically, we've got, once upon a time, all of these great people and nations, not off to a great start already. Okay, so how the fuck do people describe this book? Now I get it. I've watched a couple of people try to describe this book, and every time I'm like, that's convoluted. I reckon I could do a better job of describing it. I've been humbled before, I will be humbled again. Once upon a time, these rulers had a bit of a tiff, they had a bit of a fight, and they were all like, no thanks. And so they all separated and went to live on their own little island, I think, or realm, whatever they want to call them. They can't go back to Lightlark. No, start again. So, Lightlark is a place and everyone used to be roommates basically. There was a massive share house on this place called Lightlark. And then they had a classic share house falling out. Someone wasn't pulling their weight. And so they all moved out. And the original share house, the gods were like, no more. You can't go there anymore. Even though it's really nice and we know you love the area, you can't go there anymore. So all of these different rulers who have all of these different powers, every 100 years get to nominate someone to go to Lightlark, which opens every 100 years. Okay, so I tried. I really did. I think I'm getting dumber. Anyway, every 100 years there's like a tournament to see if they can break the curse. Oh, that's right, there's curses as well. It's good though, like I'm enjoying it. I couldn't explain this book to you if there was a gun to my head. Can I say that word? A water pistol? I'd be giggling if you were holding a water pistol to my head. There's nothing like someone aiming a water pistol at you. I'm actually talking about a water pistol. It incites terror, but like also giggles. It's kind of like tickling, do you know what I mean? Lightlark is a fantasy about rulers who have a tournament every 100 years to try and break curses that have been put on them. That was easy. Why didn't I just say that? Anyway, there seems to be a love interest, but I listened to a couple of chapters in the audiobook while I did my nails. The audiobook narrator is really good. I like her. It's just that her voice for the love interest, it's something. Guys, we are currently, we're 76% through. Just under 2 hours to go. I'm enjoying it. It's all right. I'm intrigued to see how it finishes because the stakes are quite high, obviously. Like, depending on what ruler is decided to be eliminated, their entire realm will also die with them. So obviously those stakes are quite high. I'm not sure I'm super attached to any of these characters though. I quite literally laughed out loud for a couple of reasons over the past few days reading this. I actually have notes. Okay, so the first note I have is, okay, when her and Oro, when he has to take Isla to go and like get information from this spirit and she doesn't really know why she's there, but he's like, you're imperative to this task, like I need you to come with me, you're part of this like bargain with this spirit so that we can get more information. They're doing a noble thing, but anyway, they go to this spirit and this spirit requires Isla's presence and she doesn't know why yet. They get there and they have this conversation. This spirit is like, she'll do perfectly, talking about Isla, our main character. And Isla's like, what do you mean I'll do perfectly? Like why did you pick me? Why was I the one that you needed? And the spirit's like, well, I told him to find the prettiest girl in all of the realms and you're it. And I laughed out loud. I just got a big kick out of that because I thought, I don't think this was like necessarily intentional from the author, but it felt like it was just taking the piss out of some of these like tropes that you find in these fantasy books. Like, oh my god, you're so skinty and you're like the most beautiful girl in all the realm, but you can fight. My god, you can fight. You're perfect. But also, oh my god, what a shame you can't trust anyone. That gave me a fat giggle. The other thing was, this isn't like making me laugh, it's kind of annoying me in a way. We've got like these two guys and I'm pretty sure they're both love interests, but Grimm, one of them, he always calls her Heart Eater. Now there's lore behind that. She is what's known as a wildling and like their curse is that they have to eat hearts in order to like sustain their power and hold their strength. Like they need to live on a diet of like human hearts, I think. And so he calls her Heart Eater and like, that's cute, whatever. But he says it like every time he talks to her. Like, hey, Heart Eater, how you going, Heart Eater? Like, what would you like for breakfast, Heart Eater? Oh, did you lock the door, Heart Eater? Like, every single time, Heart Eater. That's an additional 3 syllables you are adding to every sentence. And life is too short. Oh, actually, now that I think about it, they are really old, aren't they? They're kind of like almost immortal. Maybe he does have the time to add those 3 syllables. That's one. But then Oro, the other guy, does the same thing. He calls her Wildling. Like, none of these men will grace her with her actual government name, being Isla. Like, God forbid you call her her name. I don't mind, obviously, like these pet names, these affectionate nicknames. Like, I totally get it. Like, that's fun and that's cute. And I have no issue with that. But the more they're used, the less they mean. And I'm at a point now where I'm like, could you please just call her name? Like, I feel like my heart would actually skip a beat right now if you used her government name. Something to consider. Also, it's kind of annoying me that Isla is like constantly being rescued. I'm not saying that in the sense that I'm like, I want to see a strong, independent woman. I couldn't give a shit. I actually quite like the damsel in distress storyline. I have no issue with it. But I am starting to roll my eyes because like every single time something happens, it seems like she's, at least in my memory, this might not be the case, but in my experience reading this book, it feels like she's never gotten herself out of her own problem yet. So I'm hoping she does, because every time, like when I'm reading it, I'm seeing her go through shit and I'm like, okay, so who's it gonna be? Is it gonna be Grimm or Oro who comes to save the day here? Like, that is a really weird thing to be doing when you're reading a book. So I'm hoping that she kind of sorts her shit out, if we could. Because I want to like you more, Isla, but at the moment she's just like, I'm rolling my eyes because every single time she gets in trouble or finds herself in like a life or death situation, she can't do anything herself. And I know that like that's because there's a whole element to this where she's powerless and she's like can't do anything too crazy to get herself out of a situation. But they did set up like the first quarter of the book in that she's been training her whole life to make up for that. So could you? Just something to consider. So I'm 76% through. I'm gonna try and finish it this afternoon because I want to see how I feel about it. And I have a feeling that this is one of those series where the first book isn't necessarily a showstopper, but it does set up the series in a way that you're like, okay, I simply must know what's gonna happen next. And I have no issue with that. There's been a few books like that. Like Throne of Glass, for example, I didn't necessarily think the first 2 or 3 were that good, but this series as a whole has ended up, like the back end of that series, ooh! So I'm interested. I'm intrigued. I want to see where these stakes are so high. I want to see if they fall and tumble, or if I'm hoping for a satisfying conclusion. But I'm not mad if it's more of a setting up for the next book conclusion. I don't actually hate that. The old cliffhanger. We go way back. I love them. I'm not gonna lie, it does feel like things are just being made up for convenience sake. Like there's some plot twists at the end here that I'm like, what would it have mattered if that wasn't the case initially? I don't know, it just, some of this stuff feels a bit convenient. Dude, this girl just keeps getting played. I'd love to say I didn't see that coming. I think I can say this, it's not a spoiler, but the thing with Celeste. She just consistently gets played. Okay, that did end on a fat cliffhanger. I wish I had hit record like 20 seconds earlier. I didn't actually realize I was on the last chapter, but as soon as I read the last line, I just went, huh? Big cliffhanger, but I don't think I cared enough to read the next books to find out. I feel pretty solid in my thoughts about this book. I liked it, I didn't love it. I understand why people would love it, but I don't think I completely understand why people hate it so much. It was just like a fun little fantasy. I didn't think it was that bad. Like, I'm talking from the perspective of I was seeing YouTube videos where like the title is like, is it as bad as people say it is? Yes, kind of thing. Like, I don't think I'd be spending hours of my life to hate on it. But having said that, I do see that it definitely had some silly elements to it. But I liked it. It was alright. I think the reason why I didn't like cross that threshold into like loving it was because I just didn't really feel attached to the characters. I think I was attached to the story more. Didn't hate it, didn't love it, somewhere in the middle there. I did like it. It wasn't so bad. So I completely understand why it was your favorite book of the year. M's? Yeah, M. Thank you very much for letting me know. I completely understand why it was your favorite. One of your favorites. Hello, I am sick. I woke up feeling like I had razor blades in my throat. So I was looking through some of the other books that you guys told me were your favorites. I kept scrolling back and forth because it's not like some books were like a couple of books into the series, a series that I haven't started kind of thing. Others were just like in a genre that I was just like, I don't feel like right now. So I kept going back and forth. And then I was like, no, you know what? Let's do The House in the Cerulean Sea. Because I actually have a copy of I think it's a prequel, and I've had it for
ages. The reason I bought it was because I loved the cover, and I just thought it was so beautiful. All those colours just really buttered my biscuit, if you will. So that was weird. And the House in the Cerulean Sea was... Oh my god, I had a stroke trying to read your name just now. I thought it was like Italian for a full minute. You have the same name as me, but me reading your username, I was like, Lucia Life Pages, loose leaf pages. Okay. But I just read the first, literally chapter 1. Look, I've got the font really big too. I'm all about comfort right now. Oh dear, Linus Baker said, wiping the sweat from his brow. This is most unusual. That was an understatement. He watched in rapt wonder as an 11-year-old girl named Daisy levitated blocks of wood high above her head. I read that and I was like, I'm ready for this. This is what I need right now. I need me some fucking whimsy. So now a girl can't just ask for some whimsy? Oh, sorry, are you guys out of like wonder? Stopped producing wonder? I got that little like sparkle in your brain of like, this is true fantasy. This is just silly, goofy fantasy. And I'm into it. Check back in with you later. What's up, guys? Coming to you today, really quite sick. The sunglasses inside is actually for you because I look quite frightening without them. Two things. First thing, when I bought my Kobo, I also bought one of the classic, like these cases. Absolute classic with the magnetic auto close wake. Yeah, I do see every single time someone in that Kobo video tells me that the niche MagSafe issue is not in fact an issue, it is a feature. I did work that out after the first 3 comments, but I do really appreciate the additional 400 of them. I've missed cases like this. It just feels like I'm really holding something, you know? Sometimes like devices keep getting thinner and thinner and we want our cases to be thinner and thinner. Sometimes it's nice to actually be holding something. Do you know what I mean? I feel like our devices are just wasting away in front of us. So that's the first thing. Been loving this. Feel like a grandmama. Oh, and it just feels so good. It's just like this device slaps because it's got like with one of these covers, because you can just sit your little thumbie there or here. Anyway, as you see, we're at chapter 7, which is, how far are we through this bad boy? 27% through. I read 27% of it last night and I love it. We're following our main character who is an overqualified member of his department at work, and his department at work, it's giving Ministry of Magic from Harry Potter. Like it's like this magical government kind of thing. People in this world, they have powers obviously, and some children are born with powers that are just really untenable for a child to have. So for example, like quirky things, like there's a little girl who sings so seductively that she can like drive men to kill themselves kind of thing, but she's a child. So it's like the government takes all of these children and puts them in these like special orphanages around the world away from other children so that they can still live a fun life but without putting children in danger around them. Anyway, so his job, our main character, is to go to these orphanages and basically like do an audit, I guess, just like write up a report, like are the masters, like the keepers of the house, like are they doing everything right, how are the kids going, like how's the upkeep, like that kind of stuff. And then he goes back. Anyway, one day he gets called to upper management, and it's literally called like capital letters, like very upper management or something. Like it's giving this might be so niche, but the Phantom Toll Booth, does that ring a bell for anyone? It's like a kid's book, I think. I don't know, I think we read it in like year 6 at my school. My teacher read it to us, and I always think about it because it was such a fun book. It was like very punny, and that's what this is like. There's a lot of lines where it's like unapologetically just like silly and whimsy, and it's still clever, and I am really liking it. So I couldn't be more happy to be sick when I've got like a book that I'm actually really into. Also, I understand Editing Lucy has already amended this statement I made earlier. I love to lie on the internet. What can I say? I got this series confused with The Priory of the Orange Tree, because this is the prequel that I picked up. It's the prequel to The Priory of the Orange Tree. I don't know why, but for some reason I thought this cover looked like Cerulean Sea. I'm just here doing my best, so if you could hold judgment, that's up to you. I hope you choose wisely.
All of that aside, I think we've covered everything. I'm currently bulk making mashed potato, watching PewDiePie play Minecraft. What the fuck is going on? I'm 27. Also, my 10,000th day on this planet was like last week. For some unknown reason, like I don't regret it, but like younger Lucy decided to go ahead in Apple calendars and work out when I was gonna be 10,000 days old and then put it as an event on that day. And it came up the other day and I was like, oh, good to know. Hello, I'm still a little bit sick, but a lot better, as you can tell by my just general demeanor. Like, you know, do you look at me right now and you think, oh no, she's getting better? Because that you'd be right. I'm still reading House of the Cerulean Sea. My brain wasn't working when I was sick, so I literally did nothing except sit on the couch and crochet because I'm making 2 things for people for Christmas, and now I feel like I know what elves go through. Let me show you. So I'm midway through this like tote bag for my mum, and yep, cool, cute. But then I also made this as a prototype. It's like, I didn't finish it because I ran out of green wool, but it's like an over-the-shoulder bag, like one of these moments. Use your imagination. That's cute. The girlies are gonna love that, right? I'm gonna make one to give to my sister-in-law. So I need to clean the house. I need to do like that big pre-New Year clean. It's kind of just like a pre-Christmas clean because the day after, actually, do you know what? Let's clean and I'll talk. Actually, no, let's do time lapse of me cleaning while I tell you. That sounds like a good idea. We're multitasking people. So the day after Christmas, my dad is coming to stay with me, I think. I'm not sure. We're not 100% ironed out yet on that. But either way, he will indeed be entering my apartment from Christmas Eve onward. So I just want to make it nice and clean for a potential visitor. That was a funny line just then that made me laugh out loud. It was like, he couldn't carry a tune if someone gave him a bucket. That's such a good burn. That's such a sick burn. I don't think my dad's ever seen this place either. He doesn't like we don't live in like the same states. I'm the one that is not in the home state. My home state is New South Wales. That's where like Sydney and Bondi Beach are, if you know that. I grew up in Bondi Beach. I moved to Melbourne, which is Victoria, which is like a 10-hour drive away. So I'm doing the day trip to Sydney on Christmas Day to spend Christmas with my mum and that side of the family, and then I fly back to Melbourne same day on Christmas Day because on Boxing Day, my dad and I do the Boxing Day test. If you're American, just eyes glaze over. I don't blame you, but it is the cricket. So I'm very excited for that. You guys are getting the cricket though. Anyway, I love this because now like me in real life, I haven't even started cleaning the kitchen, but for you, it's probably finished by now, right? The entire point of that video was to say that I will now be listening to Cerulean Sea on an audiobook, but I didn't even attempt to tell you that, did I? I feel like this might be an audiobook book. I was enjoying it on the e-reader, but I just listened to like 40 minutes of it while I was cleaning, which by the way, it just feels so much nicer. I think you have to be in a specific mood for this book in like a silly, goofy way, but like you're not looking for a story that's really, you know, I don't know, emotional, I suppose, or like thrilling, or it really does remind me of Phantom Tollbooth, and I could be completely fucking that comparison up. In the same way, it feels like a book that you would read your child as like a bedtime story, like your, you know, 8-year-old child kind of thing, and they'd love it, but the parents also get a kick of it because there's some really like clever parts in it, and just like, I don't know, the story is fun. Yeah, I'm particularly liking that like his whole thing, like one of the reasons why he's become this really good inspector or auditor, I keep forgetting what his like actual title is because like he never gets attached to the children. He just looks at it from a very objective point of view, like, is everything okay here? But he's starting to think about these kids on this island as like, maybe we could get, you know, this fucking jellyfish that thinks he's a bellhop, maybe we could get him a uniform. And then he's like, no, I can't think like that. And I'm like, yes bitch, think like that. Get Chauncey a uniform. Yeah, I don't know. I like the characters. I like the dynamics. It's very silly. I like it. But I am going to now continue making this because I still have to get to up to like here, I think. So I also have to go to Spotlight. Oh, kill me now. I do have to go to Spotlight today, don't I? I have to go to Bunnings too. Okay, well, today is definitely an audiobook day. That's for sure. I just got up to the cutest scene in this book. If you've read it, the record store scene, that was so fun. I was like giggling out loud while I was driving. The personal injury lawyer bit, cackling. And then literally just as I turned it off, this audiobook narrator is fantastic. He's so good. He's doing all the right voices for all of these silly little children. One of the most fucking relatable thing as a child. They're like, oh no, you don't want a second ice cream. You don't want to spoil your appetite for dinner. And the child's like, yes, I do. And I'm like, period. Who wants dinner? Just checking in from the crochet sweatshop. Quite literally, it's very hot out there, but that's the choice that I made, so why would I complain about it? I ran out of listening minutes on Spotify. You get hours of audiobook listening on Spotify. I've never actually hit the max before. I got up to it at the 95% mark, so I'm just gonna really quite quickly finish this book. The very last chapter of the book, the timing couldn't have been more annoying. Oh, that was so sweet. That was so sweet, Bean. That was so endearing and lovely. And oh, what a sweet little book that was. This is a genuine smile. You could see me through the end of that book just cheesing, but really, my cheek hurts. I have to check back in with my sweatshop shift, but I'll think about the book for a bit and I'll come back to you in a second. Okay, so I just did my book journal for The House of Cerulean. It's been a little while since I finished it. I really liked that book. I thought it was really sweet. I think it's a great book if you have young children. It's something that I've personally noted that I would love to read to my own children one day. If I have kids, if I could make a suggestion, if you are a mother, I think this is a great book to read your kids. I think it's a really fun one. It was really sweet. It had some great commentary and just good lessons. I don't know, I might have to look it up in terms of what the genre actually is. Is it just straight fantasy? Yeah, okay, so it's fantasy. Wow, it got the Goodreads Choice Award in 2020 and Premio al Templo de las Mil Puertas, the best 1,000 doors. Mil Puertas, isn't puerta a door? 1,000 doors. Okay, I didn't speak as much Spanish as I thought I did. Is there an award called 1,000 doors or something? Or am I just completely not understanding a language that I thought I knew how to speak? I don't. Let's make this very clear. My Spanish is so elementary, it's not even funny. The more I read this, the more I was oh, I'm just gonna have fun with this because this definitely just feels kind of a, I don't want to say kids book because it's not a kids book. It's winning awards for adults. I totally understand that. I thought the way the author handled the relationships was beautiful. It was sweet. I just have nothing else to say except it makes me smile. That's such a sweet book. I would read that to my children. I recommend that, but I will just say that it is pretty simple stuff. It's a beautiful story and it is a pretty good story, but I will say that about, halfway through I was oh, this is basically for children. I love this. I don't mean it's for children, I just mean it's as accessible for a child as it is for an adult. I had fun reading that, and I am going to return to you now with Intro Lucy. Hopefully I'm not as fully sick as I am right now. Did you catch that? Fully sick. Let's bring back fully sick in 2025.
I'm not so sure about bringing fully sick back for 2025, but I am happy to report that I am getting better. I just wanted to go through some of the other suggestions before I finish because there were some books on here that I was I would happily have reread them because they were my favorite books from this year as well. Annie said a bit basic, but Akamath, and bitch, that whole series, Akatar, specifically Akamath, I loved that book with all my heart. That was the series that got me back into reading this year. So yes, we like what we like and we don't apologize for it as long as no one's getting hurt. Gemma, my girl said Fourth Wing. And Taste. If you've been here, you know I will be doing a reread of Fourth Wing and Iron Flame in the lead up to Onyx Storm coming out in January, and I'm so excited for that. And then a couple of the other suggestions that I didn't get to in this video, but I have popped on a list because they do look interesting. I just wasn't in like the right headspace for them when I was filming this. Maniac and Middlemarch. Matt liked those two. Kendall loved Caught Up or Just for the Summer. The only reason I didn't read Just for the Summer is because I think that's the third in the Part of Your World series, and I haven't read any of them yet, so let me know if I should. Meg recommended Red Rabbit by Alex Gresham. Superflymo said The Will of Many. So there are some good suggestions there as well, and I have put some of them on my list, and there were a few more as well. But thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you all have a most wonderful Christmas. I will see you guys before the year is over with my best books of the year, which I am excited to make, to be honest. I'm excited to sit down and work out what they were. I definitely have a few in my brain that are like solidified, but I won't spoil them for you now. I will see you guys next week.